this lesson we're going to look at the minor scale. We'll learn how to play the scale and we'll compare it to the major scale. We will see how we can create a minor chord from the notes of the minor scale, and we'll have a look at the concept of the relative minor. Now, to begin, we'll look back over the major scale, and we'll take the major scale A major, which starts on the 5th fret of the 6th string. Now, if you remember the step pattern, the interval pattern for the major scale was whole step, half step, whole, 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 half. So we had a whole step, half step, then whole, 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 half. For the minor scale, we start also on the note A. For the A minor scale, we start here, but the interval pattern is different, because instead of playing whole, 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 whole step, that's the major scale, we play whole step, half step. In other words, we flat the third note. Whole step, half step. The major scale, the third note was here, which is C sharp. The minor, it's this one, but we actually play it up here on the 6th string. So the first 3 notes of the minor scale, you play the first note with your first finger, 5th fret, second finger on the 7th fret, and pinky on the 8th fret. They're the first 3 notes. And when you're playing these scales, remember down, up picks, alternate picks. The next 3 notes, as you can see from your chart, are on the 5th string, and it's a similar fingering. We have the 5th, 7th, 8th. So the first 6 notes. So remember, we flatted the third note. We also flat the 6th and 7th notes of the major scale to make the minor scale. That's the 6th note. And then we move on to the 4th string, and we play the 5th fret with our first finger. And then we finish on the 7th fret, which is an octave higher than where we started. The full scale. Once you can play the scale of A minor, you can play all the minor scales. You just simply have to start from a different starting point on the 6th string. If you want to play the scale of B minor, for example, you find B on the 6th string, which is here, on the 7th fret, and you apply the same fingering, and you're playing the scale of B minor. If you want to play the scale of C minor, you find C on the 6th string, which is the next fret. And again, you're playing the same fingering pattern. If you want to play the scale of G minor, you find G, which is the 3rd fret on the 6th string. So there is your minor scale in 1 octave. We'll look at playing it in 2 octaves in another lesson. Now, to make a minor chord or a major chord, you take the 1st and the 3rd and the 5th notes from the scale to create the chord. So for example, in the case of A major, 1st note, 2nd, 3rd. So you'll be taking the note A, which was the 1st note of the scale, C sharp, which is the 3rd note of the scale, and E, which is the 5th note of the scale. So we're taking 1st, 3rd and 5th, and using a combination of those notes to create a scale, to create a chord, excuse me. If you're playing the chord of A major, which we learned down here, the notes we're playing are open 5th, which is the note A. You could include the open 6th, which is E, which is the 5th note of the scale, but generally we play A with 5 notes, 5 strings played. The 4th string, the note we're fretting there is E, and the 3rd string the note we've fretted there is A. So we've played A, E, A. First note, fifth note and first note of the A major scale. On the second string we're fretting C sharp, and then we play the C sharp, which of course is the third note of the scale, and open E, to create the chord, the minor chord. Again, you take the first, third and fifth notes of the scale, but the third note is going to be different, of course, because it's a flatted note as opposed to the major scale. So this is the minor scale. That's our third note. First note is A, third note C, and there's our fifth note. Our fifth note is still E, similar to the major chord. So to create a minor chord, you must use the notes first note, third note and fifth note, which are A, C and E. If we look at the A minor chord in the open position, the notes we're playing are again the fifth string is A, first note of the scale. Second note we're playing is E, fifth note of the minor scale. The next string we're playing is A, that's the third string, which is the first note of the scale. The note on the second string is C, that's the third note of the scale, and the last string we're playing is E, first string open, that's E. So in that chord we have got the first, third and fifth notes of the minor scale. The only difference is between the major and the minor, the third note of the scale is flatted for the minor. That note there. Now just a quick reference to the relative minor. Every major scale has a relative minor, and in simple terms that means both scales use exactly the same notes. Take the scale of C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. They're the notes for the C major scale. No sharps or flats. Now the relative minor for the scale of C major is A minor, and we find that we just go down 3 half steps from our starting position. So C, 1, 2, 3, and we end up here at A. That's the relative minor, and the notes for A minor are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Same notes, just a different starting position. And that applies to all the major chords. So if you start, for example, here, take that, take the scale of A sharp. What's the relative minor scale for A sharp? Go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and you see that it's G minor. And you play the very same notes in the scale of G minor as you would have been playing in the scale of A sharp.